Fox News pundit Mark Thiessen, who of course was on the air with Fox all throughout election night, declared that the losses suffered by Republicans, not just on the national level where the red wave did not materialize, but mostly at the state level, right? That's where Republicans actually suffered losses. And he says that is a searing indictment of the Republican Party. Let me read to you what Thiessen had to say. We have the worst inflation in 4 decades, the worst collapse in real wages in 40 years, the worst crime wave since the 90s, the worst border crisis in U.S. history. Before I even continue, let me just point out that everything he just said is totally false. Like verifiably false. You can look these numbers up and see that he is lying his ass off with his little introduction there. But I'll continue. We have Joe Biden, who is the least popular president since Harry Truman. Okay. Also not true. Trump was way less popular than Biden. Bush was at 1.2. So were other presidents. So again, another lie, but let's continue. Since presidential polling happened, and there wasn't a red wave. That is a searing indictment of the Republican Party. That is a searing indictment of the message that we have been sending to the voters. They looked at all of that and looked at the Republican alternative and said, no thanks. Now he continues, I'm going to read more in just a minute, but I do want to talk about that for a moment. Because part of what he says, like he almost gets it right. Okay? I'll give Thiessen that. You almost got it right, bud. So here's the thing. Voters said the 3 biggest issues for them, according to the most recent polls heading into the midterms, biggest issues were the economy, crime, and immigration. Now you may not agree with that, but most of the public does think those are the 3 big issues. So on all 3 of those issues, guess what else? The public said we trust Republicans more on those issues. That's kind of shocking, especially when compared to Tuesday's election results, right? Most voters are like, these are the important issues and Republicans will do a better job. But when it came down to it, when they actually walked into those voting booths and they saw those Republican names, they've seen what Republicans are doing across the country and they said, no thanks, as Thiessen put it. I can't do it. I can't do it. The Democrats are not living up to my expectations. Voters admit that. I'll admit it. But you got fascism on the other side. You got violence on the other side. You've got absolute hate and extremism on that other side, and I'm not willing to go there. I'll take my chances again with the Democrats to do something about it because we've seen them make forward progress on these issues. Are they all solved? No. Have there been missteps? Yeah. But is it 1,000 times better than anything you would ever get from the Republican Party ever? 100%. And that's what the voters understand. That's what Thiessen almost, I think, put together. Like, yeah, the Democrats aren't great, but Republicans suck. That's what the voters thought. Thiessen almost got there, right, dude? You almost had it. But then he continued. The Republican Party needs to do a really deep introspection. Look in the mirror right now because this is an absolute disaster for the Republican Party and we need to turn back. We need to look at who won today. Ron DeSantis, Mike DeWine, these governors, Brian Kemp, Abbott. Look at these governors. This is the path to the future, and electing these radical candidates who ran far behind them has put the Republican Party in a terrible position, and voters have indicted the Republican Party. Now, here's the other thing though, dude. You're talking about Republicans getting routed in swing states. And then you're looking at these deep red states and like, well, see, these guys won by huge margins. Obviously, they're onto something. Yeah, they're onto something. They're running for office in deep red states. That doesn't mean that Kemp or Abbott or DeSantis is going to play well nationally, especially because your previous point already disproves that. That's how dumb these people are on Fox, by the way. He's like, these candidates were too extreme to win at a swing state. That's why we need to look at the people running in deep red states only on social issues because they're going to win a national election in a swing state. No, that makes no sense, but most of what Fox News has to say doesn't make any sense, so that actually does make sense that it doesn't make sense if you follow what I'm saying.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.